First of all, give Detroit a ton of credit. They played a clean game, much cleaner than we did. I was disappointed with the number of penalties and just self-inflicted wounds that we had, and you can't do that against a really good football team. I think when you look at the sequence in terms of them kicking 3 points right before the 2-minute drive, then we have a pick six, and then they come out the second half and score a touchdown. I mean, that's a lot to overcome right there, and obviously we didn't do a good enough job to be able to overcome that.
What do you, in the grand scheme of things, Matt, what do you make out of the game? Like, do you feel like you just lost the game? You made too many mistakes? Do you feel like you got some catching up to do with Detroit, or is it just?
I think Detroit's a really good football team. I absolutely do. You know, and when you're playing a good football team, you can't have those types of mistakes. I don't know what their number of penalties were, but we just had, you look at right off the jump, we get a personal foul or whatever, what they called on Keyshawn, the 15-yarder, which is totally unacceptable. And then we had multiple, they have their first drive, it's 4th and goal on the 5-yard line, we jump off sides, and it gives them an opportunity. They go for it. They get a touchdown there. And then when we were driving or getting into scoring position, it seemed like we had false starts. We had snaps. The ball was on the ground. Just way too many mistakes. And you cannot do that against a good football team because they're going to make you pay. And credit to them, they played a clean game.
How did you assess the pick six?
I got to go look at it. You know, I think he was trying to make a play. He was under duress there. I think he saw Josh. Obviously, Joseph picked it off. He's one of the best safeties in the league. I think both those safeties are really good players. They got tremendous ball skills. I mean, they got 10 picks between the two of them now. So I think you can't do that against those guys. And Joseph made a great play, and that was a big-time play in the game. Go ahead.
Jordan often makes the really exquisite plays, but with that play later in the game, he held it instead of throwing it away, and it wasn't on the way again. His discernment on when to throw it away, something you looked at.
Every play's different. You know, I love how he competes, and you know, obviously he wasn't at full strength, and for him to go out there and be able to battle through, I thought that was big of him. You know, it's unfortunate, and but certainly you can't put yourself in a situation where it becomes a game where you're throwing it almost every down. I don't think that's going to be winning football, especially in these types of elements. And we dug ourselves in far too deep of a hole, and then we have an opportunity there, and we don't convert in the red area. That's been a problem. Obviously, 1 of 4 is not good enough. So we got to take a hard look at that over the course of the next week, and figure out what we got to do to be better. Because obviously, when we have opportunities, we're not making the plays. So we got to really look and see what we're asking our guys to do, and you know, just got to do a better job.
How do you teach when it is time to abort the play, throw the ball away, and when it's time to actually try to make something out of it when he's getting flushed like that?
No, I think that's a fine line. It's a hard thing to really. You always teach in the rhythm of the play. When it goes off schedule, you just got to be smart. You got to be smart with the football in a one possession game. And I know he's doing everything in his power to make a play, but sometimes, again, I got to go back and look at it before I can give you a good answer on that.
Big picture, though, he was so smart with the football for the second half of last season. He threw 1 pick in the last 8 games. He's now got 10 already this season. What do you think? What are the reasons why that would be the case?
Well, every pick's going to be a little bit different. So, is it something that I feel like we can get better. We can learn from it, and I think we will be better moving forward.
Do you guys try and coach catching passes in these conditions a certain way? Why do you think that was such an issue today?
No, you coach the same fundamentals of attacking the football, aggressive hands. It is harder when it's raining out. It is. It's just, but you got to really focus in on just the concentration of it, tucking it all the way in. And obviously we didn't do that.
At the false starts, is that lack of focus too? Do you,
Yeah, I think that you can definitely lump those in the focus category where we got to be better, because some of those just are totally unnecessary. You know, we're going on a double cadence, and I never want us, that's an advantage for an offense. I never want us not to do that. Like, I think that's an important part of it. That is your one advantage on offense, is that you control when the ball is snapped. And that's a great advantage when you're at home, when there's not as much crowd noise. And we just got to dial in and be better focused.
Coach, you mentioned going 1 for 4 in the red zone. Why do you think your team has been struggling to finish drives consistently throughout the season so far?
Well, I think a lot of it stems back to the penalties. So I would think that's a big part of it. And then we had back-to-back possession, or back-to-back snaps where the ball's on the ground. So that's another one.
Did you get a look at those snaps? Is that out?
I haven't seen it. My eyes aren't focused on the snap. My eyes are focused on the defense. Then you look back, you hear, the crowd or whatever, and you look back and the ball's on the ground. So I don't know what happened.
Now, what'd you think of the opportunity you guys kind of squandered, where Branch gets the 15-yard penalty, ejected, gets another 15-yard penalty? What did you think of that situation?
Yeah, we didn't capitalize on it.
Is it a delicate balance with a young quarterback that's capable of making all the plays that Jordan is, to coach him in a way that he still has that
You guys
freedom?
are gonna I understand, like, it's really annoying up here though, like, we're obviously, he's fighting, he's competing, and we know that we've got to take care of the football, but I don't question anything about what he's trying to do. We just got to do it better.
2 more, please.
Matt, kind of what went through did you know pretty much by Friday that Jordan was going to be able to go, or how did you arrive at the decision?
I mean, we had a good indication that he was able to practice. That was the first day that he really had 1 day of practice. I know he was limited, but limited can mean a lot of different things, right? On Thursday, all he did was individual. So, but the fact that he could go out there on Friday, the only time I thought he really looked hobbled was right at the end of the half. So I went up to him as we were going into that tunnel, and just asked him if he was all right, if he could continue to go. And, he's a competitor, and he's gonna, and I talked to our medical staff and asked them if they had any reservations or concerns, and they were comfortable with it, so we let him go.
It looked like early third quarter, Malik was throwing some passes on the sideline. Was there ever a question of whether or not Jordan with the groin would be able to get through the game?
No, I was unaware of that, and I'm sure Malik's just trying to stay ready, stay warm in case, you have to go in a moment's notice what happened in Jacksonville. And obviously it was a little colder game, and so you want to stay loose and you want to stay warm.
Big picture, you're going to see these guys again. You got a hell of a lot more football games after the bye. Obviously you want to win a game like this, especially at home, but in the big grand scheme of things, how do you view this?
I mean, it's disappointing when you have a big game like this against one of the best teams in the league, and you don't feel like there was just too many mistakes, that you can't overcome those against a good football team. And that's exactly what Detroit is. And like I said, they just played a clean game. They really didn't put the ball in jeopardy. I thought Jared was really efficient. I mean, 18 to 22, that's a pretty good day's work. They grinded out. I thought Montgomery was running hard. Gibbs had some really good runs. That's a good offensive line. And I think defensively, they do some things that gives you a little bit of problems. And I thought they did a good job just keeping us a little bit off balance. Was probably anticipating a little bit more man coverage. And they were just jumping in and out of it. And so they did a good job of keeping us a little bit off balance, I would say, offensively. And, it's a good football team.